here. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the solutions for 6.2 here. And we're looking at quadrilaterals and their properties. And so we're going to write some equations and solve for some unknowns. So the first thing we need to do is identify what type of quadrilateral we are looking at so we can identify its properties. So we see that all the sides here are congruent, and so this means this is a rhombus, and a rhombus is also a parallelogram, so we know that the opposite angles are congruent, and a rhombus also has diagonals that bisect the angle, so I know that these angles are going to be congruent. So immediately we know what y is. Y is 63 degrees. So if this angle is 63 and this angle is 63, we know the sum of the interior angles in a triangle are 180. So we can write an equation to solve for x. Okay, let's combine these terms here. 63 and 63 is 126, plus 15 is 141. So that's 141. Subtract that to both sides. It's 39. And then we got to divide both sides by 5. 39 doesn't go, 5 does not go into 39. So we could say either 39 over 5, or let's see, what would the decimal be for this? 5 times 7. 40. 5 goes into 40 8 times, so it would be 7.8 would be our answer. Okay, that's x, and this is y. All right. Okay, so here we see these two sides are parallel. So this tells us we have a trapezoid, and we've got these sides are congruent. So this is an isosceles trapezoid. So we know some angles here. If this is 120, the diagonals here, this is be vertical angles. So we have two isosceles triangles here. So this would be, and these angles would be congruent. These angles here would be congruent. This angle right here is linear pair with 120, so this would be 60. Okay. So this angle also we could call 10x if we wanted. So why don't we find the interior sum, or use the interior sum equation for this yellow triangle that I have. I've got 10x and this 10x plus the 120 equals 180. X equals 3. So if I put 3 back in here, that would make this 30 degrees and make this 30 degrees, right? And 30 plus 30 plus 120 is 180. Now let's take a look at an equation for y. We know that 5y plus 25 plus 60 equals 180. because the sum of the interior angles of a triangle are 180. So this orange triangle. So 5y plus 85 equals 180. Subtract 85 both sides. 5y equals 105. You can divide that by 5. Y equals 21. And so this angle would be 5 times 21, which would be 105, right? Degrees. 105 plus 60 plus 125 would be 180. Okay, that one's done. Okay, so let's take a look at this next one. I see I've got congruent sides that are adjacent. I got two pairs of them. This makes this a kite. Okay, so the two congruent sides at A and C are the vertex angles. A and C are vertex angles, because that's where the congruent sides come in. So the non-vertex angles are B and D, and these have to be congruent, because that's a property of a kite. So this is also 77 over here. Now the kite is also quadrilateral, and that means that the interior sum is 360. And so I have this expression for angle A, have this expression for angle C, and I already know these two angles. So we can just add all four angles together. And set it equal to, I ran out of room. And set it equal to 360. Okay, 3x and x is 4x. 12 minus 2 is 10. Plus 77 and 77 is 156. Sorry, 154. Okay, equals 360. So 4x plus 164 is 360. What do we get here? So 360 minus 160 would be 200. So this would be 196. Okay, and we're going to divide that by 4. The 4 goes into 19 4 times. 4 goes into 36 9. X equals 49. So that would make this angle 47 degrees, and then 49 times 3 plus 12 plus 12, this would be 159. Okay. And that's a kite we saw for x. Okay, D. Okay, opposite sides are congruent. That's all we know. So this is a parallelogram. So we know opposite angles are congruent. We know consecutive angles are supplementary. So I have 2x minus 20 and I have 4x plus 80. These are both in terms of x. Why don't we go with that? We know that 2x minus 20 plus 4x plus 80 is supplementary. So we also know these are going to be parallel, right? We know that these are same side interior angles, right? So I got 6x, 2x plus 4x is 6x, negative 20 plus 80 is 60. Let's subtract 60 to both sides. 120 divided by 6. Okay, x is 20. Now, if x is 20 here, 2 times 20 is 40, minus 20 is 20. So this is 20 degrees, which, let's check this one. 4 times 20 is 80, plus 80 is 160. So this would be 160. So that makes sense. Those two angles are both supplementary. And the opposite angles are congruent. And that's how we're going to get this last solution here. I know that 20 equals 4y plus 8, right? And let's subtract 8. Divide 4, y equals 3. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 8 is 20. That worked. Okay. All right, what do we have here? Looks like another kite. So D is a non-vertex angle, and so is B. And the property of kites say that these are congruent, so this means this has to be 90. And I've got my vertex angles 4x plus 12 and x minus 2. This is very similar to the one we just did. We're just going to add all 4 sides and set it equal to 360. Four x and x is 5x plus 10. This is 180. Maybe I should have written a different problem here just to be different, but that's okay. So what we got. Subtract 190. 5x equals 170. Divide by 5. 5 goes into 17 3 times. 5 goes into 40. 5 goes into 24 times. So x is 34. So this would make this angle 32. And this angle would be 34 times 4. 12. 136 plus 12. This would be 148. 148 and 32 would be 180. And 90 and 90 is 180, so that would be 360. Okay. We have opposite sides are congruent. So this has to be a parallelogram with that, right? But if this angle is 90, it's going to make this angle 90 because opposite angles are congruent, which makes these two angles 90. So already we know that 4y plus 8 has to be 90. This is the easy one to get, right? We know that has to be 90. So let's write that equation. Subtract 8. 4y equals 82. Divide by 4. Four, not 5. 21. So y equals 21. Okay, now this next one, I'll give myself one more room here. we know that these two angles here, this angle here and this angle here, they're not congruent. Okay, this is not a square. These aren't both 45. But we do know they both are going to add up to 90. So we know this one's 90 right here, right? And that means that these two angles have to add up to 90 also, because 90 and 90 would be 180. So I know that x squared plus 20 plus x plus 50, these got to be complementary, right? So I've got an x squared and an x term here, so this means we got a quadratic. So I'm going to subtract this 90 over here. And so I've got x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. And now we need to find the factors of negative 20 that add to 1, because that's the coefficient in front of x there. Okay, and the factors are 5 and negative 4. So I'm going to set each of these quantities equal to 0, because we're using the 0 property of multiplication. And x equals negative 5 and 4. So if I put 4 in here, that would give me 54. I put 4 in here, that would give me 4 squared is 16 plus 20 is 36. Okay, 36 and 54 both work. If I put negative 5 in here, this would give me an answer of 45. And if I put 4 or negative 5 in here, negative 5 squared is 25 plus 20, that would also give me 45. So I've got two possible answers. One's 36 and one's 54, and the other one is 45 and 45. Of course, if it's 45 and 45, that means that this would be a square. But I guess it's possible, because we haven't technically ruled out that it's a square. So we've got two possible solutions for that. Okay. Let's just do this last one right here. I'm going to try to prove what type of quadrilateral I have here for E, F, G, H, and I need to be able to prove it. Okay. So one thing I see, it looks like a rectangle. Now I can't just say it's a rectangle because that's what it looks like. But we know that a rectangle if the rectangle is a parallelogram with all 90-degree angles, right? So why don't we see if we can prove. So I'm going to say, first prove it is how about prove parallelogram? Parallelogram. Then prove rectangle. Okay, so this is what I'm going to go with right here. I'm going to first prove it's a parallelogram. And so there are a lot of ways to do that. We could show that the opposite sides are congruent by using the distance formula. Okay, we could use the distance formula and find the lengths of the opposite sides. We could see if the midpoint of the diagonals are both the same, right? If they had the same exact midpoint, that would be a proof. We could check the slopes of the opposite sides and see if they're the same, and that would be another way to prove parallelogram. I think that's what I'm going to do for this one. So let's show that the opposite sides have the same slope. So that's what I'm going to go with. So let's do the slope of E to F. And so I see the slope here is up 3 over 1. And the slope of H to G is up 3 over 1. Okay, so that must mean that EF is parallel to HG because the slopes are the same. Okay, let's do the same for F to G. F to G. Maybe this time I'll use the formula. So I know that y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is the slope. So what do we have here? F. Let's get the y first. 3 minus 5. Okay, 3 minus 5 over 5 minus negative 1. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. 5 minus negative 1 is 6. Negative 2 over 6 is negative 1/3. Let's check that. Down 1 over 3. Down 1 over 3. Yep, that worked. So that is the slope for FG. And now let's get the slope for E to H. Okay, y2 minus y1, so that's going to be 0 minus 2 over 4 minus negative 2 . Okay, so the slopes are the same. So that means that FG is parallel to EH. All right, so now we know this. We've proven that it's a parallelogram now. So how do we now prove that it is a rectangle? So a rectangle has 90-degree angles. So we can say that EH, segment EH is perpendicular to EF, because EH has a slope of negative 1/3 and EF has a slope of 3/1. Because slopes are negative and reciprocal. Okay, so now we can say E, F, G, H is a rectangle. Okay, let's stop there. I hope that makes sense, and I'll check you later.